Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin Blancad.
I'm Jamie Madamba.
I'm Athena Aquino.
I'm Cliandkisses Watson.
I'm Jasmin Velazquez.
And I'm Cristian Fesarillo.
Today we're going to talk about the leader development, on how leaders can be, should be, and what development can occur for leaders. Before we start, let's take a look first at the chapter outline. First is the brief introduction. Second, the action observation reflection model. Third, key role of perception in the spiral of experience. Fourth, reflection and leadership development. Fifth, making the most of one's leadership experiences, learning to learn from experience. And lastly, building one's own leadership self-image. All throughout the presentation, you can know what all this and what is the connection of this to the leader development. So without further ado, let's get started.
Leader development. Formal training. It is structured methodology in which a formal curriculum is presented in accordance with laws and norms. Here are some of effective ways to improve your leadership aside from formal training. To ensure clarity and visibility of goals, facilitate accountability and responsibility, create a culture feedback, build trust and transparency, focus on continuous performance management, respect differences, and promote inclusion, and last, foster a growth mindset. John F. Kennedy served as the 35th President of the United States. He was distinguished for his exceptional speech and communication skills. His ability to articulate his vision, form authentic connections with diverse groups of people, and inspire the nation through his eloquence earned him a special place in history. And these traits are often cited as a benchmark for effective leadership. There are 13 traits and qualities that helped John F. Kennedy to become an effective leader, and those are: he had vision, he was a good listener, he was determined, he had good communication skills, he was intelligent, he was organized, he was charismatic, he learned from his mistakes, he was a conqueror, he was an analyst, he was willing to take risks, he had humor, and lastly, he believed in his people.
Now, let's go on to the action observation reflection model. From itself, it composes of first, the actions. On what are you going to do? What specific action you need to do? Second, observation. On how you notice the action you've done. And lastly is the reflection. It is the deeper understanding by reviewing situations on what happened, what you felt, or thought regarding with that situation. Action, observation, and reflection is involved in the leader development on the action, observation, reflection model. You can take a look at the spiral of experience on the next slide, which is the most known way to develop as a leader. As you can see on the figure 2.1, the spiral of experience from the action on what did you do as a leader. After that, you observe what happened. Are there any results? Are there any impact on others? Lastly, you reflect. How do you look at it and how do you feel about it? Thus, action, observation, and reflection can sum up into experiences as a leader. To conclude, leadership development is enhanced as one travels along the spiral of experience. Each of the three processes consists of questions that a leader needs to address to learn from his or her experience. The question under the action process is, what did you do? The question under the observation process is what happened in terms of the results and the impact on others. The question under the reflection process are, how do you look at it now and how do you feel about it now? Here are the key roles of perception in the spiral of experience. It is the matter of how are you going to see your experience. It may be good or bad. First is the experience. It all depends from the person on how he or she look at it. Second, based on how are you going to look the experience, it may be good or bad. It may affect the next action that you're going to do. How are you going to observe it, and how are you going to reflect about it? Lastly, it is on us. By our own thoughts can construct our experiences. Thus, we can say that experience has a large role for being a leader. It can help the leader develop its skills and be a good one.
Perception and observation. Perception and observation both engage when it comes to attending events around the person. We intend to see and be aware of the people, and at the same time, to have a clear observation on what is happening around us. People can become a bit selective in what they deal with and in what they think or believe of. Perceptual set is what we call a phenomenon that shows this kind of selectivity. In other words, a perceptual set is a temporary readiness to immediately tell something about a certain object or events without thoroughly thinking about it. You might have a tendency to view things in a limited way or in a certain way. To give you an example of how a perceptual set works, there is a researcher asking 5 people to describe the same exact artwork. The participants would most likely have different descriptions on what the artwork looks like. Some of them will say it's nice, some would say it lacks something, it's not good, and some would say it's very artistic. This just simply means that not all people would have the same perception, ideas, thoughts, and reactions as you have. These experiences would have a tendency for you to be biased and to perceive one thing and not another. It can also influence anyone's senses around you. The feelings, need, prior experiences, and expectations can all lead to triggering a perceptual set. Stereotypes about gender, race, and like powerful impediments would act as filters that distorts one's observation.
So now we're going to tackle perception and reflection. It states here that perception influences reflection. So what is the definition of perception and reflection anyway? Reflection is how humans interpret their observations, while perception is inherently an interpretive or a meaning-making activity. Connected to this is attribution, which is an important aspect, as attributions are the explanations that one develops for the characteristics, behaviors, or actions to which one attends to. Let us then dive deeper into this aspect, shall we? There are several factors that can affect the attribution process. First is fundamental attribution error. It states here that this is the tendency to overestimate the dispositional causes of behavior and underestimate the environmental causes when others fail. In other words, with this error, we overemphasize personal characteristics and ignore situational factors in judging others' behavior. We tend to believe that others do bad things because they are bad people, for example. Second on the list is self-serving bias. This is the tendency to make external attributions for one's own failures and make internal attributions for one's own successes. In simpler terms, this is what happens when we praise ourselves when things go our way, but blame outside factors when we fail. The last on the list is actor or observer difference. This one refers to the fact that people who are observing an action are much more likely than the actor to make the fundamental attribution error. Simply put, we tend to see other people's behaviors as being caused by their personal disposition, while perceiving our own actions as due to situational factors. Discussion of perception and attribution aside, evaluation and judgment could also be involved when it comes to reflection.
Perception and action. Research shows that perception and biases affect supervisors' action toward poorly performing subordinates. Self-fulfilling prophecy is when a person unknowingly causes a prediction to come true due to the simple fact that he or she expects it to come true. In other words, such as a person or event can affect our behavior towards that subject, which cause the expectation to be realized. For example, a high school volleyball coach expects freshmen to be less skilled, so she does not put them into play very often. When she does put them in, they are rusty and do not.
Reflection and leadership development. How do reflection and leadership relate? Well, reflection provides leaders the insights about dealing with problems differently, viewing different perspectives, and you get to have a better understanding of both yourself and your team with your values, knowledge, and skills. Undergoing reflection will not only make you a better person, but also a better leader, since you're not only thinking for yourself, but for the sake of the whole group, and that shows great leadership. The process of reflective leadership would take you time and practice for you to master. It's all about you being present in the moment, being fully aware and conscious of your thoughts and feelings, and then making adjustments accordingly. If you want to develop your reflective skills, it's important for you to start practicing it regularly. Be patient and don't be too hard on yourself. Describe and talk about your experiences without judgment or criticism. You would take a lot of time to fully adapt these skills, but always remember that those leaders who can reflect on their own experiences can learn and grow as better individuals and professionals. Some leaders or managers tend to ignore reflection just because they believe it would be just a waste of time, just like what other people believes. By raising implicit beliefs, leadership development can be enhanced to unconscious awareness.
Now, we are going to tackle the fundamental archetypes of leadership, or you can call it the textbook examples of leaders. First on the list is the teacher and mentor. What do? Obviously, they are people who teach and educate. Second, the father and judge, meaning people who lead or co-lead an institution, father with the family and judge with a court of law. Third, the warrior and knight. These are people who have a military rank or are experienced in warfare. Fourth, the revolutionary and crusader, meaning people who campaign for political, social, or religious change. And last but not the least, the visionary and alchemist, or the people who typically plan the future with their imagination and wisdom.
Single and double loop learning. Single loop learning is about making adjustments to correct a mistake or a problem. It is focused on doing the things right. Causality might be observed but typically is not addressed. For example, it can be compared with a thermostat that learns when it is too hot or too cold, and then turns the heat on or off. The thermostat is able to perform this task because it can receive information, the temperature of the room, and therefore take corrective action, while double loop learning is identifying and understanding causality, and then take action to fix the problem. It is about doing the right things. For example, it is connected to the single loop learning because when someone changes the setting of the thermostat, then the system will engage in double loop learning.
Next, we have making the most of one's leadership experiences. Learning to learn from experience. Why is learning to learn from experience important? Students who take on leadership responsibilities can hone these abilities while also improving their organizational and problem-solving abilities. Communication and interpersonal skills are extremely crucial in today's workforce. Learning events and developmental experiences that punctuates one's life are stressful. Being able to go against the grain of one's personal historical success requires a strong commitment to learning and willingness to let go of the fear of failure and the unknown. A strong dedication to learning and a readiness to let go of the dreaded prospect of error and the unknown are necessary for being able to go against the grain of one's own past success. To be successful, learning must continue throughout life and beyond the completion of one formal education. Knowledge must keep happening throughout a person's existence, as well as following finishing of their official educational attainment in order to be successful.
Leader development in college. Subjects and programs on leadership studies are also offered by other higher education institutes and colleges. It stated here that leadership programs should involve several academic and professional disciplines and should value this in a much broader field. We use service learning to instill values such as social responsibility to have a better engagement in a community. Service learning is a combination of both academic learning and community service that promotes reflective and critical thinking in order for students to develop civic engagement, commitment, and skills. It's an educational approach with community service that would improve one's societal needs. This educational approach focuses on the developmental outcomes with associated assessment and evaluation to determine if the program is effective or not. The question is, does service learning have a positive effect on students? The answer is yes. It does have a positive effects on students like us, such as it could improve one's leadership and communication skills, personal interpersonal development. It reduces stereotypes, facilitates cultural and racial understanding, citizenship skills, and lastly, sense of social responsibility. There are the key curricular components of college-based leadership studies programs. First, the coursework examining. Second, foundational theories. And third, the concepts in leadership. Here are the different leader development methods that can be used beyond service learning. This involves individualized feedback to students. Individualized or individual feedback is by providing specific information for a particular student. But why do individual feedback is more important? Because by giving feedback to students or learners, it tends to improve their confidence, motivation to learn, and learners' attainment. It simply means that students gain motivation and such because they receive feedback from their teachers and coaches. And by that, they have this kind of guidance or assurance, and they would be reassured that they are on the right path to continue thriving in doing things. Individualized feedbacks comes in many shapes and forms that could be given by the following: personality, intelligence, values, test scores, and leadership behavior ratings. Case studies and role-playing are also considered as an instrument for a leadership discussion. Case studies are used because it's very effective for students and will help them apply their skills and understanding of the facts to a real-world situation. And also role-playing for providing students real-world scenarios and to learn skills for negotiation, teamwork, debate, persuasion, and cooperation. There are also structured activities that are designed to do the challenges or decisions that you could experience in a work environment, such as simulations and games. Simulation is an approach or method used to not only let students learn about different concepts, they also provide students with opportunities to apply new skills, knowledge, and an idea they could use in a real-world situation.
Now, we're going to tackle leader development in organizational settings. Here, trying to enhance an individual's capability to perform in a leadership role is not just for the individual's personal development, but also for the organization's benefit. This is a great thing to do since research indicates that investments in these kinds of programs have a positive ROI or return on investment. In relation to this, guiding leaders and supervisors in industry and public service is the aim of numerous leadership training programs. Regarding the aforementioned programs, their content depends on the organizational level of participants, as they could be either first-level supervisors or mid-level managers. But what is the difference between the two? Well, first-level supervisors are those who are primarily responsible for the direct supervision of subordinates. Meanwhile, mid-level managers, are those who are responsible for carrying out the decisions made by upper management and ensuring the directives are executed efficiently and effectively. So, stated here are the differences in the content of the programs for first-level supervisors and mid-level managers. For first-level supervisors, there are lectures, case studies, and role-playing exercises to be used to improve their supervisory skills. On the other hand, programs for mid-level managers focus on improving their interpersonal, oral communication, and written communication skills, as well as giving tips on time management, planning, and goal setting. Furthermore, these mid-level manager programs rely on individualized feedback, case studies, presentations, role-playing simulations, and in-basket exercises. Most probably, all of these are familiar except for in-basket exercises. What is it exactly? Well, in this activity, participants are tasked to prioritize and respond to a number of documents. Typically, these are notes, letters, and phone messages from a fictitious manager's in-basket, while being under time pressure. This is a huge help in the assessment and improvement of a manager's planning and time management skills. As Conjure states that a multi-tiered approach is effective and should focus on certain areas, namely personal growth, skill building, feedback, and conceptual awareness, several approaches to leadership development have come to light to aid this goal. Some emphasize individualized feedback regarding a person's strengths and weaknesses based on standardized assessment methods, while others emphasize the fact that it's the 21st century, so leader development must occur in more lifelike situations and contexts. Additionally, first-level supervisors and mid-level managers aside, there are also leadership programs for senior executives and CEOs. The programs vary in content depending on the organizational position, so the focus for CEOs and senior executives is on strategic planning, public relations, and interpersonal skills.
Action learning. Training programs are a process of one personnel taking leadership classes during work hours. It's a carefully thought out pattern and combination of tasks intended to give the employees the knowledge and abilities they need to become a better professionals. The main reason why training programs are important is because they improve the job performance of an individual and as a group. These programs would help the employees to advance and improve their knowledge and skills, and also to instill great motivations to the employees to help them enhance their job performance. These trainings discourse common leadership issues, but sometimes it would be difficult for these concepts to be put into actual work situations. Programs that would teach and train students or personnel how to obtain or apply great leadership into actual work situations. Action learning makes use of actual work matters and challenges as part of the developmental activity. It explains here that to have the best learning experience, you should be learning by actually doing it and experiencing it. What I'm trying to say here is that you would not be able to learn something if you're not actually doing it. To experience doing something would not just give you the ideas and knowledge, but would also let you discover your full potential and once you see the result of your hard work. This would also help you develop a skill that would help you find creative solutions to workplace challenges and problems, so you would know how to actually deal with it. The concept of action learning is to teach this group of work colleagues the importance of teamwork when it comes to problem solving, decision making, and addressing issues. It could also develop powerful work teams that would deal with norms and cohesiveness. This is conducted by a group of work colleagues that are addressing real company problems and challenges.
Now, we're going to tackle development planning. Of course, to make actual changes, there must be positive answers to this set of questions. The first question on the list is, do leaders know which of their behaviors need to change? This is the most important one, as the answer to this affects the next set of actions and answers. Second, is the leader motivated to change these behaviors? If there are behaviors that need to be changed, the answer to this question is as important as the first. Third, do leaders have plans in place for changing targeted behaviors? From the name development planning, there will be no development, of course, if there was no planning that took place. Fourth, do leaders have opportunities to practice new skills? Ideally, there must be, since an individual who carries the position of a leader is always practicing new skills. And fifth, are leaders held accountable for changing targeted behaviors? Similar to the fourth question, ideally, yes, because like learning, accountability in leadership is indispensable. In short, development planning serves as a guide for leaders so they can build on what they have started and improve in areas that they are still lacking in. While there are staple questions, good development plans are still getting revised because there will always be new skills to be learned.
Coaching is an ability of a leader that supports the group to succeed, to focus on enhancement, to help the team to improve their skills and to accomplish the full potential of individuals. Leadership establishes a good development, can help retain high-quality followers. Process of equipping people with the tools, knowledge, and opportunities they need to develop to become more successful. There's two types of coaching. The first one is informal coaching. It takes place whenever a leader helps followers to change their behavior, while the formal coaching programs designed for the specific needs and goals of individual executive and manager in leadership position.
Now, we're going to tackle the 5 steps of informal coaching by Peterson and Hicks. The first step is forging a partnership. Here, a meeting will be set up for the coach and the trainee to establish a partnership based on mutual trust. The second step is inspiring commitment. Here, the coach must redirect the focus of the trainee to see through their lenses. The third is growing skills. This step is about growing the skills or upscaling the trainee to meet standards and expectations. Fourth is promoting persistence. In this step, the coach shares experiences, provides support, and discusses principles with the trainee. Lastly, the fifth step, which is shaping the environment. This is when the trainee is now willing to utilize or share the experiences and lessons that he or she has acquired.
Next, we have informal coaching. What is informal coaching? Informal coaching takes place in ordinary workplace talks rather than scheduled meetings. These conversations can be brief or lengthy, one-on-one or in groups, task-focused or people-focused. What distinguishes them as coaching is a conversational style rather than a formal model or structure. Process can be used to diagnose why behavioral change is not occurring and what can be done about it. Can and does occur anywhere in the organization and is effective for both high-performing and low-performing followers. Increases in difficulty when it occurs either remotely or across cultures.
Features of formal coaching. One-on-one relationship between managers and coach lasts from 6 months to more than a year. Process begins with an assessment of manager to clarify development needs. Coach and managers meet regularly to review the result of the feedback instrument. Role play and videos recording are used extensively, and coaches provide immediate feedback. Outcomes of coaching program: clarification of managers' value, identification of discrepancy between manager, spouse values, and their actual behaviors. Development of strategy better align managers' behavior with their value. Formal coaching programs can cost more than $100. Coaching may be more effective at changing behavior than more traditional learning and training approaches.
Mentoring. Since the mentor is technically leading the mentees, this type of mentoring gives the mentees a first-hand view of what great leadership looks like. The mentor can use hard leadership skills to hold the mentees accountable for making genuine progress, in addition to soft leadership skills to effectively communicate with them. Mentor is an experienced person willing to take an individual under his or her wing, usually someone 2 to 4 levels higher in an organization. Provides prodigies with knowledge, advice, challenge, and counsel, and support about career opportunities, organizational strategies, and policy and office politics. Not the same as coaching because it may not target specific development needs. Guidance is provided by someone several leadership levels higher in the organization and not the immediate supervisor. Mentor may not even be part of the organization. A mentor is someone who contributes their knowledge, skills, and/or experience in order to assist others in developing and growing, while a coach is someone who advises a client on their goals and assists them in reaching their full potential. There are formal and informal mentoring programs. Informal mentoring is an unstructured, spontaneously growing relationship where areas formal mentorship is a highly organized partnership. Informal mentoring occurs when a prodigy and mentor build a long-term relationship based on friendship, similar interests, and mutual respect. In a formal mentoring program, the organization assigns a relatively inexperienced but high potential leader to a top executive in the company, often used to accelerate the development of female or minority prodigies. Informal mentoring may be more effective than formal mentoring, as it creates a stronger emotional bond and can last a lifetime.
Building one's own leadership self-image. Not everyone wants to be a leader or believe he or she can be. Many people are selling themselves short. People who want to avoid the responsibilities of leadership should keep an open. Learn about the importance and pervasiveness of leadership. A positive self-image will make leaders see self-concept and build confidence in their leadership roles. It can impact how leaders are effective the way they lead and organize their team. Leadership self-image involves self-reflection, continuous learning, and a willingness to adapt and grow as a leader.
To summarize, to make your leadership matter, you need to apply the action, observation, and reflection model. Along the way, there are challenges will come across in your journey as a leader. It can be an opportunity to become a better leader by converting the challenges into a lesson. If the system can be based by the behavioral changes, it can be successful. This composes of the action learning, development planning, informal and formal coaching programs, and mentorships. All of these are behavioral changes that can lead the leadership system a successful one. With the use of coaching and mentoring programs, it can help the members to have a behavioral changes. And therefore, we conclude that leader development has a lot of factors to achieve. That's the leader development all about. We hope that you learned something from what we tackle all throughout the discussion. Thank you for watching.